We had hoped that women sympathetic to feminism would respond to these results, and some did, but not enough to create the political impact we needed. For years now, radical feminists have been ignoring the deep hypocrisies in the abortion movement. Planned Parenthood's defense of sex-selective abortion should have been roundly condemned by so-called feminists, but it wasn't. Most who consider themselves women's rights advocates also ignore the emotional and physical damage an abortion does to a woman. Despite their professed feminism, they care less about real flesh and blood women than they do about theoretical ones. To defend their neglect, they have tried to elevate abortion into a feminist ritual that men cannot hope to understand. If men could get pregnant, said prominent feminist Gloria Steinem, abortion would be a sacrament. For some feminists, it already is. According to Father Frank Pavone, feminist Jeanette Paris described abortion as a sacred act, a sacrifice to the Greek goddess Artemis. Artemis stands for the refusal to give life if the gift is not pure and untainted, wrote Paris. As Artemis might kill a wounded animal rather than allow it to limp along miserably, so a mother wishes to spare the child a painful destiny. Another horrific practice Planned Parenthood defended was the refusal to provide medical care to babies who survived abortion attempts. Instead, abortionists, such as Kermit Gosnell, would simply kill the babies who survived, breaking existing prohibitions against infanticide. Abortion groups hated laws that reinforced prohibitions against these murders. In our next investigation, we tried to wake people up to the horror of abortion by exposing the killing of near-viable babies. The humanity of babies slaughtered in late-term abortions is obvious and undeniable. Infants born prematurely at the same age and in the same hospital routinely survive and grow healthy. Media groups often celebrate their homecomings. In 2002, President George W. Bush signed into law the Born Alive Infants Protection Act. Under the law, children who survive a partial birth or third trimester abortion are guaranteed constitutional protection. Those children even have the full rights of citizenship. Despite the law, however, these infants have on numerous occasions been left to die, struggling for life with each fading breath. In this investigation, which we called Inhuman, we caught abortionists on camera admitting they would refuse such infants life-saving medical care. In Washington, D.C., the manager of an abortion clinic promised our courageous, pregnant investigator that he would abort her 22-week-old baby and leave the baby to die if the child survived the procedure. In Phoenix, our investigator was also actually pregnant. The clinic checked the baby's age by ultrasound and determined that the baby was 24 weeks old, a week too old for a legal abortion in Arizona. Ever helpful, the clinic did a second ultrasound and determined that the baby was not 24 weeks old, but, lo and behold, only 23. The clinic agreed to kill the baby. To put the mom's mind at ease, the counselor reassured her that the clinic would not resuscitate a child who survived an abortion procedure. In the Bronx, a pregnant investigator went to ask for an abortion. The clinic admitted that the baby was 6 months along and fully grown, too old at the time for an abortion at the facility. Again, trying to be helpful, she told the investigator to flush it or put it in a bag or something if the baby were delivered at home. Counselors often use the word "it," even when referring to fully viable babies. An abortion clinic in Bellevue, Nebraska, directed 2 pregnant investigators, 22 and 26 weeks along respectively, to its sister clinic in Maryland, a state that has no laws protecting preborn babies at this age. The clinic's abortionist proprietor, Leroy Carhart, casually told the mothers that the abortion would cause the baby to get soft, like mushy, so you push it through. In an effort to lighten the moment, the abortionist compared the delivery of the deceased baby to putting meat in a crock pot. If the dead child were not delivered completely, the abortionist joked, he would remove the child in pieces using a pickaxe and a drill bit. In New Mexico, a pregnant investigator approached a clinic about a 2-day late-term abortion procedure. The abortion workers acknowledged the humanity of the preborn child, yet callously confirmed that they'd killed the child in utero through the induction abortion procedure to avoid delivering a live baby. They warned that if she went into labor prematurely, she must not dial 911, but instead deliver the child alone into a toilet while she waited for the abortionist to arrive. We released these horrific, heart-wrenching videos. They were even more painful to produce than to watch. Our scenarios had been fictional. The brave women investigating the facilities loved their children fiercely. But we all knew that in each investigative visit, there were dozens of women with precious sons and daughters in their wombs, offering their children up for excruciating dismemberment and slaughter. Other pro-life groups worked with members of Congress to introduce a bill prohibiting abortions after 20 weeks. I knew that as long as taxpayer funds continued to pay for the abortion industry's atrocities and prop up their political power, bills such as these would languish in one subcommittee or another. Congress needed to muster up the will to stop funding abortion providers. Period. We kept the pressure on while continuing to build alliances with other constituencies. Our next investigation took a different track. We hoped to warn parents about the impact of Planned Parenthood on young teenagers through its almost ubiquitous school-based sex education. We sent investigators who looked like young teenage girls to 2 clinics in Colorado, as well as clinics in Indiana, Minnesota, and Oregon. The girls asked for sex advice. What they got was stunning. Tutorials on painful, risky, sadomasochistic sex games, directions to shops that sold sex toys, and advice about how valuable it is for girls to watch hardcore pornography. Many parents were outraged, and some used our videos at school councils to convince administrators to block the abortion groups from giving presentations to students. Our investigation revealed Planned Parenthood's ideology of blind and unwavering support for abortion. So much for choice and women's health. It was as if Planned Parenthood had indoctrinated its staffers to spare them all moral qualms when closing the deal on an abortion. Abortion because the baby is black? Totally acceptable. Abortion because the baby is a girl? No problem. Abortion because the baby is imperfect? Of course. By refusing to acknowledge that abortion killed a human being, the staffers could justify abortion for any reason, or no reason at all. Despite the massive media and financial advantage Planned Parenthood and its allies had, they were not winning the battle for the public's hearts and minds. We and our allies were making incremental progress. In 2006, before we launched our first investigation into Planned Parenthood, 41% of Americans considered themselves pro-life. By 2013, that number had increased to 48%, despite Planned Parenthood's control of the White House and the media. While our team at Live Action passionately worked to build our movement's momentum, I wrestled to find a lifestyle that would prevent me from succumbing to burnout. On planes every week, I traveled to almost all 50 states and flew around the world to speak, advocate, build a team. I loved traveling, but I knew that this way of life was not sustainable long-term without breaks. The more responsibility I had, the harder it became for me to make new friends close to my age. The conservative, pro-life circle in D.C. felt suffocatingly small at times. When I broke up with my boyfriend, I risked losing the group of friends we shared. It was also hard to be friends with the people who worked for me. I was their boss, after all. My mentors helped. The coaching helped. Finding a small group of friends who understood the burden of the cause and who became a safe place to laugh, to cry, and to struggle with helped. Praying helped even more, but I felt my own inadequacies daily. Being a public figure, I learned, can bring extra romantic attention. This causes its own stress. The attention felt flattering at times, but And when that attention inspired stalkers, it became nightmarish. Twice I was followed in my car by random men. Others repeatedly contacted me on social media and sent gifts and flowers to Live Action's P.O. box or showed up at my publicized events. When well-meaning acquaintances asked to set me up with people they knew, it was hard to know where to draw the line. And even among the more normal guys I met at parties or bars or through friends, there was sometimes a ladder-climber dynamic, an unfortunate, but often true, DC stereotype. The lure of power and success that pervaded the city seemed to have hooked many of my peers. In a city as surreal as Washington, it was the everyday reality that threatened to wear me down the most. The inertia, the power struggles, and the apathy. It's naive to think that progress is uniform and momentum is unstoppable. While there will be moments of breakthrough, most often the work is simply a slog. When you stand up for what is right, even among allies, you will face obstacles. The opposition has a will of its own, and they will push back. But to force the necessary change, you have to keep the pressure on. You have to persevere. Fortitude is perseverance in spite of difficulties, especially the private difficulties that no one sees. Like any virtue, fortitude is a muscle that requires practice, with small, daily, grueling repetitions to build our strength. The little day-to-day battles may not seem like much in the greater scheme of our work, but faithfully fighting them will grow our capacity to face the bigger ones. Fortitude is key to any great endeavor, and the only way to earn it is one small step at a time. No cause is without obstacles. Expect them. And no battle is won without perseverance. Stay the course. Never give up.